What impact does weather have on F1? If you're a fan of Formula One, you'd remember the San Marino Grand Prix of 1994 that killed Ayrton Senna. Proof that even extraordinary amounts of talent can't make you immune to the dangers of unexpected weather events. So does weather impact Formula One races? Let's find out. Formula One drivers must race in a wide range of track and weather conditions over the course of a season, no matter whether it's hot, cold, day or night, and in all conditions in between. Temperatures both on and around the track also have a particularly important role to play. Track temperatures can drastically affect tyres, says George Russell. When you're driving on a track that's nice and cool, the tyres cool down pretty much every time you race down the straight. But on the other hand, when the track is scorching hot, you are basically driving on top of a saucepan, heating up the tyres, so they don't afford you as much grip. Sunlight has a direct influence. Track temperatures dip when the sky is cloudy, even if it's still quite hot. And as you would expect, temperatures tend to be much lower during night races than in the daytime. The colour of the tarmac also plays an important role. You can see that some tracks are a bit greyer than others that are literally black, says George. And of course, that attracts the heat and sends temperatures climbing, which then always makes things a bit harder on tyres. So there's a direct correlation between track and tyre temperatures, but ambient temperatures can also affect a whole lot of other things. Of course, it's not just the tyres that are impacted by heat. The drivers have to race whatever the temperature, and the car components are also impacted when temperatures change. Ambient temperatures can majorly impact a car's performance. Ideally, the temperatures of individual components should be just on the limit when drivers are pushing and getting the maximum out of the car. However, achieving that is no easy task. The unproblematic way would be to simply maximize the car's cooling and make its ducts as big as possible. That would reduce stresses on the vehicle's components, but at the same time would also have a harmful effect on aerodynamic performance, since airflow is not only used for cooling but also to generate downforce efficiently. Another aspect of cooling has to do with the driver himself. These days, drivers have to endure incredibly cramped conditions in their cockpits due to the limited space around them, and they also have a huge number of heat-emitting boxes of electronics and pipes to contend with. Once again, teams don't want to use too much airflow for cooling, as that might affect other aspects of performance. But of course, they also have to consider the limits of human endurance at certain races. The intense heat during some races can become a major source of distraction for drivers in the cockpit as they push themselves to the limit, both mentally and physically. Obviously, if they get too hot, they can't concentrate fully on getting the best out of the car. Rain-affected races pose another big challenge for drivers. Visibility is much poorer, and you can get standing water at certain parts of the circuit, or maybe even find water running in rivulets down the track, making it incredibly slippery and unpredictable. However, that's not the only difficulty that drivers face, as rain seldom falls in the course of a Formula One season. You don't get that many laps and that much experience in the wet, says George. We probably do 95% of the season in the dry, and only 5% in the wet, when conditions are always variable. It might rain a little more or a little less, while in the dry things remain pretty much the same. So you have to be on your toes and be very dynamic and adaptable in the rain. One of the questions that most frequently arises on a rain-hit race day is when is it the right time to switch from intermediates to slicks? It's one of the tensest moments for the team, but also incredibly exciting, and can be the difference between victory or defeat. So it's vital the strategists, engineers and drivers all work closely together. George says that when it's in turd conditions going to slicks, i.e. onto a dry tyre, we racing drivers tend to take the same line, and that's when the track dries up. It may be dry on 75% of the track, but if a quarter of the circuit is still very, very wet and you are on dry tyres, you probably won't even be able to make the turn. So it's very tricky. You may need slicks on half the track or 3/4 of it, but it's the wettest point on the circuit that dictates when to switch. And who gets to decide at what point to change from intermediates to slicks? Well, that depends entirely on how the race is going. When a team has nothing to lose, they will try to be very aggressive in making the call to change over, but the driver knows how it feels out on the track and when it's safe to make the switch. Some decisions relating to weather are made during the race, while others are set up beforehand and cannot be changed. It means that F1 weather teams are some of the best funded and most weather-savvy in the whole of sport. What do you think of this whole situation? Let us know your opinion in the comments. And while you're down there, leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And we will see you in the next video.